Well, that's great. If not, that's first priority. If you have a problem where it's either unclear to you, it's clear to you or not clear to you, but clear to others that you may have lost the ability to control any drinking or using. If that's the case, first and foremost, you have to get sober. Uh, Non-duality won't land really with a chaotic tarmac in a sense. So in time, first things are first, and the basic sobriety of not drinking today is paramount. Yeah. That's what happens, I've noticed in my, even with, if I would have met non-duality when I was out there, I would have used it like a drug, you know. I would have used, the head would have used it to shed responsibility and every other possible trying to get something out of it. But I feel the message of non-duality, which is really the underlying solution, can't be approached. Yeah, it's almost as if you've been in something and then you fall into it, and when you fall into it, you know you've been in it the whole time. Yeah, and that to me is non-duality, and a lot of people in recovery arrive there basically by following the clear diagnosis in the big book, which is self is what has defeated us. And to get to the exact nature of the wrong, to me, is to see it as foreign. Yeah. Now, to see it as foreign is just a step before seeing it never actually existed. Yeah. But let's first give it a little space, and that's the foreign nature, because obviously, if we have, most of us have lived through a programming, yeah? So for us to have contact with this life, we've been wearing a spacesuit, so to speak. We hadn't known it. The spacesuit is programmed for certain reactions to certain things. It doesn't have unlimited downloads. It's not like AI. It's not growing in awareness. Yeah. And you come up against a lot of the failure of the system that you've been listening to, you know. And when we say you listening to it, it's really the listening, but the language always throws a noun in there. Yeah. How we speak. So it's really listening. There's something listening, but we say you are listening. But in fact, yeah. Yeah. There's listening to it in a certain way. And then there's a feeling of being a you gets produced. And then from that point, you are the one who's listening to everything. Yeah, it's like a trick, with the P and the three things, and moves around, and the head moves what comes after to the before. So it's what comes after is the idea of you as the doer, and then it's suddenly moved to be before the other two. Yeah. And now every time there's doing, it presupposes there was a doer before it. Yeah. So this is all non-duality, but if you've gone through the addictive route, the express routes has stops. Yeah. There's local stops. That's just the way it goes. And in this case, you realize self-knowledge avails us nothing. And I would say some people in recovery think that applies to knowledge about how bad the drinking will be for you, and yet you still drink. I like to expand that, and I believe self-knowledge avails us nothing in a lot of ways, yeah? Especially in trying to acquire knowledge about self. Yeah, yeah. So this switch where you start having downloads of knowledge about self. Yeah. And one of the downloads, first I heard a little bit about it in a book by, you don't mind, I'm just going to go off for a little while. Yeah. Yeah. It's coming fast and furious, so I can't go. Yeah. So when I was younger, there was a book by a guy named Trungpa Rinpoche, which was like a Tibetan Buddhist guy. He had a problem. He was an alcoholic, but still a lot of cool shit came through him. But he was an alcoholic, definitely. He asked for a drink when he was dying and shit. Yeah, he was. Yeah. So he had a great book called Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism. Yeah. So I'm not saying advise you to read it, because the only page I remembered was the first page, about the second paragraph. That's the only thing. It was so important. It didn't matter all the other stuff. So what it said was, he says, somehow, just beware that the ego is going to claim everything it's brought into contact with and try to take advantage of. Yeah. Yeah. So he used the term ego, and that was basically what I got out of the book. And then with that understanding that seemed to be loaned to me or lent to me by this guy, that understanding started, like English in London is aluminium, yeah, aluminium. So they emphasize a different syllable, and it sounds like a completely different word. In America, we go aluminum, yeah, but they go owl of something aluminum. So it's the emphasis. So understandings can change the emphasis of how you're reading meanings, yeah. As you're taking in information about life, there's a pre-biased emphasis where a lot of shit is underappreciated and other shit's emphasized. Even though you're getting the same information, the information is like been altered, yeah? There's a bias. Yeah? So it's like that. So when you get this understanding, it shifts the emphasis. So let's say one person who's trying to believes he or she is the seeker, and it doesn't seem to be succeeding, and he yells out, I'm never going to get it, yeah? Which is just like an emphasis of a lifelong disappointment, yeah? I'm never going to get it. Now, another person, after recognizing the idea that what you're looking for is what's looking, in other words, you are what you're looking for, when they say, I'm never going to get it, it's hallelujah, yeah? The emphasis is completely different, but it's the same statement. I'm never going to get it, fucking lifelong frustration, or incredible lifelong relief, which is I'm never going to get it. It's the same statement, but you're going to be the emphasis. Yeah, yeah. And I feel what understandings have done in this life, they've changed the emphasis of how I was reading all the tea leaves, yeah? When I read the tea leaves, I felt, all right, they're fucking with me, yeah? I mean, they're the ones that inhibited me or stopped me from getting what I wanted. There was always a similar emphasis. Now, yeah, when that head presents that, I realize that's not me that's presenting it. So I call that voice the voice of self, and the voice of self is foreign to me. And then with this understanding, I started to feel like, doesn't this voice in the head seem like it's talking to something? Yeah. I mean, I haven't drank, so it spends a lot of time trying to convince me to drink. Yeah. Now, if it was me, it would just go out and drink. Yeah. What would be prohibiting it from drinking if it was me? It sure sounds like it wants to. It sure sounds like it's the best idea. It sure sounds, it keeps nagging me constantly. It's like my cat nags me about opening the door because it can't open the door. Yes. It's dependent on me, and it has to convince me that it wants to go out. Yes. It ain't going out based on its own desire. Well, I humbly believe the head can't produce much, yeah? In your own private Idaho, it may fuck with you a little, but you're not going to a 20-year prison sentence based on it, yeah? You haven't ruined your marriage. You haven't gotten fired by saying shit You know, none of this. It hasn't made a big splash in quite a while. Yeah, yeah. So I would hear the head, and finally I started realizing, who the fuck is it talking to? Yeah, I'm assuming it's me talking to who? Me, is there another deeper me or something? But it sure sounds like it's like the teenager bugging the father for the keys to the car. I mean, it seems like it can't get the car without me giving it the keys. Yeah, it does. And it's on you. And if it can't get through the skylight, it tries to go through the side door and it digs a hole into the cellar. And it's persistent, but it doesn't have any power. Yeah. I have to pick up the bottle and I have a mouth to put it in. Yeah. So it's truly like a lot of the parasites that you see in nature, where the parasite is confronted with a dilemma, which is it has a drive and it doesn't have the same drive that we as alcoholics have or addicts, meaning drinking or using, but its drive is to reproduce. And it's a primary urge, and it may find itself in a very precarious situation. There's one called toxo, it's a nickname, but it's in a lot of mammals, yeah? And it has its only way it can procreate, it needs the right setting. And that is in a cat's intestines. Yeah. Now it finds itself in a rat's brain. And it seems what I would have fucking given up. Yeah. How the hell am I going to get in that intestine when I'm over here? I don't got any legs. I can't Uber. I can't fly in. I can't, what am I can't, I don't have any stumps to move. Oh, I'm going to take over the system. And I'm going to convince the system when it sees a cat, run right up to that cat and offer yourself as a sacrifice, like the rat or the mouse. And they have videos where there's like 4 cats hanging around and a rat shows up and walks right at them and basically says, eat me. And then when the cat eats the rat, it gets the fucking toxo finds itself in its Shangri-La, which is the cat intestine, reproduces. The cat takes a shit and it just, thousands of little toxos have been released. Yeah. Now, this head has a much lesser challenge to convince all of us knuckleheads to do something that we know is not a fucking good idea. It seems to have great success. Yeah. Yeah. Because we have an incredible alignment, another self-centered aspect of the system. Whatever happens, we believe we did it. So when we're being affected by the parasite and we're making the movements it's dictating us to make, we have a narrative that we're choosing it all. So the parasite has complete shade 24/7 because everything it does or anything it causes us to do, we take the fucking quote unquote credit or blame for. It's unbelievable. We're like the perfect setting for a parasitical takeover because we won't recognize it. Yeah. Yeah. So this is how I saw it. I didn't see that when I came in recovery. It took a couple of years of certain downloads and then certain understandings. And then I found one night I was just reading page 64 because I did a 4-step workshop. And I read it, and I've had read it many times, and it was a simple sentence, which I believe is one, and I think it's really the most primary instruction for the inventory, which is being convinced, which is a state that we need to be in recovery. You need to be convinced that you're fucked to open you up to the next move. Yeah. If you're not convinced and you still think, and it's not even you thinking, it's the head thinking it can manage. And if you believe you're the head, you're probably going to have to fall down some more stairs until you're malleable. Yeah. Yeah. Even though AA has raised the bottom, sometimes it takes a deep bottom to get it. Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing quite like a bottom to convince many people. Yeah, to me, it was imperative. I wasn't getting it, the easier, softer way. So something intervened and I whacked me and I got struck sober. Yeah. So, all right. So this parasitical movement in recovery is called self. Yeah. So it says being convinced is the present tense state. Yeah. If you're being convinced, mean right now, it's like an alive convincing. It's not like you just get convinced and then you can become unconvinced. And no, you're in the state of being convinced because you're now watching what has defeated you. Yeah. You watch it and you're not calling it you anymore. So you're being convinced by its own parasitical presentation, you're not that. Yeah. So I am convinced what? Self. Manifested in various ways. Wow, that's incredible. So self, I'm not going to really see self in a way. I'm going to see its manifestations in my life. And that's the key. Yeah. Sort of like the breadcrumbs aren't what has defeated you, but they'll lead you. The manifestations, which are the breadcrumbs, will lead you to that which has defeated you with the right understanding. So we're going to look at its common manifestations. So here's a statement: convinced being, like right now, I am being convinced by this meeting. I'm being convinced. Yeah. That what? That this idea of self was what has defeated me. I'm not being defeated by it, which is very cool right now. Yeah. And I'm not really worried or super anxious about being defeated by it. Yeah. Very cool. Right. So I was defeated by it, and that's sufficient. Yeah. I don't have to be defeated by it right now. I was defeated by it, and now I'm convinced that that is what has defeated me. I was not the one who defeated me. It was self. Incredible it's a monumental shift. You may not move an inch, but your understanding has moved pretty big, really. All right, being convinced self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. Yeah. We like to have is what had defeated us. And I hope this understanding we share today will have that has as had, meaning past. It had defeated us. It has defeated us, not recently. It's more in the had level, which is a good space for it to be. It had defeated us. So being convinced, self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. Yep. All right. I'm convinced of that. We're going to look at its common manifestations. All right. How do you get lost? I don't understand this. But what happens is the next paragraph says resentment, and how we read that or hear it in our heads, my resentment. Yeah, this is the trick of the parasite. Even when we recognize its manifestations, we call them ours. You don't see that as the bondage of self. If something that has defeated me by the use of its own manifestations disguised as mine, and I'm now understanding some of that, yet every time one of its manifestations is either talked about or comes through, I call it mine. These are my resentments, my fears, my harms to others. Do you really need to go any farther than to see that misunderstanding? To me, if you don't see it, you're going to be looking from it. Yeah. You're going to be looking from self's view when it's talking about its manifestations and it's being truthful. It has spawned the resentment. Yeah. And when it says my resentment, it's telling the truth, but you're in the act of being identified as it, and it's not the truth for you. It's self's manifestation, and it's talking about its manifestation. They're not our manifestations. This, to me, is the real freedom from the bondage of self. Yeah, and this is what we come and should talk about. To some people, ad nauseum. Yeah, and I don't care. Yeah, yeah. This is not, we're not adding a 24 more steps and they're going to be the stairway to heaven. We're just trying to get clear about the exact nature of the wrong. Because I didn't see a uniform clarity about it in recovery. I didn't. And I'm from a thriving place of San Francisco. We have like 500-600 meetings a week. And for the life of me, I don't remember ever hearing it much about it. Yeah. I heard the same instructions that I was giving to others, which is we're now going to look at your resentments, your fears, and your harms done to others. And they're not. Yeah. Yes, they're not. And I'm tired of passing it on. So, yeah. Yeah. So stop here, page 64. If your understanding can grasp what's being said, I feel you're going to have a different emphasis on how you see things. And especially when you see or are aware of the things being presented in the head. I humbly believe the emphasis of it's not you is going to win the day. Yeah. And you're going to outgrow the ownership of resentment, fears, harms done to others. Is there going to be a resentment? Maybe. Fear, mostly mental anxiety, maybe. You may harm someone, but we have the steps and the means to take care of that and correct it. But you cannot correct an ignorance without a clear understanding. Yeah. And if there's an ignorance in the exact nature of the wrong, and we're taking to ourselves to be the problem, then we're going to have people, and we're probably going to agree with them, that they hate themselves. And they find they are their own worst enemies. I do not believe that. I do not. I do not believe you hate yourself. I believe something may hate you. I do. Yeah. It works for it sometimes when it hates you. For it. Yeah. And to be, what an incredible, powerful position for the host to give the parasite, that it's my worst enemy. I mean, it loves that. It wants this to be like a 12-round heavyweight fight that's already been fixed. You're going to lose, But I mean, I'm wrestling and I had it down, it came back up, on and on and on. But what really kills it is irrelevance. When you, as the host, lose interest in the parasite, that is the killing blow to the parasite. It is. And you know what? It will adapt begrudgingly to have a much smaller little vineyard than it used to have. Yeah. It's given up its main movement, which is GPS. You're not listening to any of its directions anymore. And that's a lot of its bandwidth right there. Once you get off the GPS, you'll see it, man. You'll see it. It keeps it's like you dropped a couple of drops of olive oil on the table, not a giant Exxon oil spill. This is what it's looking for. None of that's going on anymore. Yeah. And you can very easily, by just following some suggestions, doing what we do, staying sober, you will find yourself in the habit of being sober. You will. Yeah. And so it won't be knock them down, get it up, knock it down. You'll knock it down, or you won't. Something will knock it down sufficiently that it really doesn't get up. It still sends you messages, but it doesn't have the old whack it used to have. Yeah. Because you've killed it by not listening to it. Yeah. And you fundamentally do not see it as you anymore. That's incredible. Yeah. So I humbly believe if you don't understand, that could be the beginning of understanding. Yeah. Which is awesome. I hope you don't understand, because the head doesn't want to understand. You're going to understand something about the head, not through the head understanding. Yeah. There's aspects of you that are untouched and virgin. The head doesn't have dominion over it, doesn't even know it's available, but you do. You'll find out. The intuitive thought, the little pause, yeah, rocketed into the fourth dimension, all this stuff. The head has no idea that's going on. It's just in its charade. Yeah, it feels rumblings and shit. It just, and it seems like its territory is shrinking, but it's still playing Za, you know. But it's like the Wizard of Oz, and you've seen it. When you heard the explosions without seeing the Wizard of Oz, you thought the explosions implied a hugeness of the wizard. Now you see the Wizard of Oz as a tiny, powerless thing. The same explosions don't sound as loud to you anymore. They don't. They're just pops, little pops here and there. It's not like a fucking nuclear explosion. Yeah? It's just, yeah. And then you just get on with living. Hopefully, if you stop thinking and talking about yourself all day, you'll probably see you've been of maximum use. Yeah? Yeah? That you were available for service, called upon or not. You were of service, you were present and available. Yeah? And like you're on call 24/7. That doesn't mean you're going to be called 24/7. Yeah? Yeah, but you're available. So yeah. Yeah. The parasite, doesn't travel. It travels with us. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. When you run into it in your inner life, what usually happens? The misunderstanding, we call it me. Yeah. That's going to be broken. You're going to recognize it as other. Yeah. And you're going to lose interest in all of its shenanigans and everything else. And you're going to gain interest in other people and what you can contribute life. And you'll sense a new presence because you'll not be self-aware. You'll be aware of the self. You won't be self-aware all day, self-conscious. No, you'll be what we call God conscious. Yeah. So the problem with the self-consciousness is self wants to be conscious of God as God. It's playing God, wanting to be conscious of God. That doesn't work. No. Yeah. Yeah. As St. Francis says, what's the key? It's in self-forgetting. You ever try to forget self as self? It doesn't work. But when you realize you're not self, that's when the forgetting starts. And that's the rebirth, really. Yeah. And it talks about it in the book, the third step promises, page 74, all of them. They have incredible effects that are going to occur. And they're all pivoting on losing interest in self. Check it out, page 63. We start losing interest in self, and then all this shit starts becoming available. What? Don't you see that when you're completely obsessed with self, a lot of shit's not available? When you lose interest in self, a lot of shit is available. Yeah? Then you try to have it available with self, it's not available. If you lose interest in self, it's available again. You see they're playing a role with each other. Yeah. It's like that party you hear about is supposed to be so great, but when you get there, it sucks. You can't get around it. Yeah. So I'm sitting here with certainty. I've been certain about this for fucking 30 years, I guess. So I never think I'm very hard to understand. I'm super clear to the hearer of Paul. The hearing that's of Paul is like the choir. Yeah. It's so obvious that which has defeated us is foreign to us. It's just so fucking obvious. If you see the words, we're driven by 100 forms of stuff, that means you're not the driver. Yeah. We have self-imposed calamities. That means you did not impose the calamity. Self-imposed it on you. You and self are not the same. You know, being convinced self defeated us. Us and self do not mean the same thing. Us is us. Self is a singularity. It's like a programming, a mental programming called selfing. Yeah. Now, every time you're the listener of that programming, there's an injection of personalness that it really isn't. If you went into any addict's head, it would be sounding quite familiar to you. Yeah. And what you would think were your thoughts are as obviously shared by many, so they can't be yours. And your feelings are expressions of an effect that many of us feel. Yeah. And what we do concerning or caused by that irritable, restless, and discontent is quite similar to what other people do when they're irritable, restless, and discontent. Yeah. And all of us special, unique cars seem to end up in the same 3 parking spaces: institution, jails, and death. Even though we seemingly left from a unique, terminal, different departure, we arrive at the same fucking place. I think we have the same driver. Yeah. And it's not you. Hallelujah. Yeah. Now, it's easier to talk about it when you're relieved from it. And I think many of us in this Zoom are relieved from the bondage of self right now. The head is not going to admit it, but I don't wait for the head to give me permission. And they can yap away. It's like a probation officer. Yeah. And check it out, really. The things you're held to account in your head, when do you reach the statute of limitations? I know people with 46 years sobriety, they still have an umbilical cord to a past event producing guilt and shame today. That's fucking mind-boggling. Yeah. When's the statute of limitation? When? I had a lot of court dates, yeah. And sometimes they found me years later, and it was too late. The statute of limitations had run out. Yeah. So it was so weird. I was living in Potrero Hill in San Francisco. I guess I was about 12 years sober. I got a letter from New York, and it had the letterhead was the fugitive squad, and it was the judicial system, the justice system from Long Island, telling me to fly back to New York and be in court 9 o'clock Monday morning. Like I'm gonna buy a ticket. I'm in California. And I called my brother-in-law, who worked, he was a lawyer, but he was a judge clerk. Yeah. And I asked him, hey, can you check out, I got this disturbing letter. They want me to surrender from charges from past years. And they said, they're just going over the papers. And it's sort of like, you know, they send out a message, free refrigerators, and the people go and then they get arrested for a warrant. Shit. They were fishing for me like I'm going to leave Northern California to fly to Mineola, Long Island, and give myself up. So then I asked him, what should I do? He said, just don't go to New York. So I followed that for a few years. So you never get that. The statute of limitations, you never get it. None of these fucking memories are erased. They're just lingering, taking up space. You've been convicted and sentenced. And every time you're waiting for your day to get released, it adds more years for some fucking reason. Yeah, it's insane. We are free from the bondage of self means being free from a lot of stuff concerning the time, future worries about results, and past convictions. You're freed from that. You're freed from the bondage of concern, constantly concerned about outcomes later that you have nothing to do with, and then going over and over again in all your past transgressions. Yeah, always getting stamped open case. Yeah, you're free from that. You become free. And hey, what makes you present and available is being free from the future and the past. The only way you can be bound now, unless you're in a terrible fucking situation and handcuffed to a wall and shit, and I don't see any of you handcuffed to a wall. It seems like you're in a pleasant situation where you are. Yes? The only bondage can be produced or manufactured in the head. Yeah. And because this is a subjective experience, many of us are having a subjective hell experience. And it's by the head making mountains out of fucking molehills and going over shit that we have nothing to do with. And then being so sure of a forecast of 12 years from now where it doesn't even fucking figure out today. Yeah, it's a failed system. The perfect response to a failed system is to stop relying on the fucking thing. Yeah. And when you open yourself to be directed and driven by something else will show up, and we call it the higher power. Yeah. And I know I can tell the difference between the lower power driving my fucking car and then the higher power driving my car. Yeah. There's no, it's very, very clear. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm so happy to be here, and we're going to have all these meetings this next few weeks, Tuesdays and Thursday mornings and Saturday. So thank you. And I'd love to have it come through. And, you know, I'm not going to talk to anyone at the Italian restaurant about this. Forget about it. Yeah. So it's just going to pass me the cannolis. So it's lovely that we have an audience, because this bird needs to sing, motherfucker. Yes. Jesus, I can't stand those old fucking tunes over and over again. Oh, I'm feeling really great, but I'm still fucked up. You know, we gotta, you know, don't worry, oh, powerful one. I'm not leaving your domain. I just got a little bit of air. I'm back into the cellar. We fucking, it doesn't close the door of the jail. We do. We could have walked out. We can walk out right now. Yeah. All right. Who's running this show today?
Michael and me, Liane.
I'm sorry, I ran over both of you. So
That's fine. So I think I don't have to say anything and just ask if anyone has a question.
just that it's not an AA meeting, but they hopefully.
And it's not an AA meeting. Okay.
Yeah, it's just, this is.
So it's not an AA meeting. And like you said, it's on the exact nature of the wrong as described on page 64 of the AA Big Book, and the solution found in the 12 steps.
No, the solution is found through the 12 steps, not in the 12 steps.
I have read in the 12 steps.
I know,
sorry.
but it's actually in my flavor. I like through, because it's the higher power. The 12s, because people from a lower power view can look at the 12 steps as something they do, and they're going to get themselves sober. I don't believe that. So I believe through the 12 steps, something gets us sober, and I would call that something, an ambiguous name called the higher power. It's best to be on an intimate relation with it, or than a defined concept of it. Yes. If you felt something changing you, you've gotten to know it a lot better than any conceptual idea. Yeah. Seriously, I feel. Yeah. And obviously, you know, it's not of name and form, so you don't want to, why lay a name and form on it? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I like the word through the 12 steps, or the 12 steps would look like a self-help process. Yeah. Yeah. People can look at it. You know how many other step programs there are that are presented as a self-help thing? Yeah. This, I hope, isn't presented that way. It's presented as a reliance on a higher power thing. Yeah. So through surrender and admittance of powerlessness, we're infused with power and stuff. I like that spirit, yeah, of it. So I've always had a little bug about that statement. It's I don't believe it's the 12 steps of doing it. Yeah. They keep us busy. Yeah. They keep us busy while the operation continues. Do you ever, what is the feeling when you're out of your head that you don't have any interest in getting out of your head? Do you? I have no interest in getting out of my head while out of my head. I know. I have a lot of interest in being out of my head. I do. I don't have much interest in getting out of my head because I'm out of my head. I mean, I want to get out of this heat because I'm in this heat. Yeah. I'm not used to this humidity. This is what one of the reasons I moved from the East Coast to the West Coast. It's too humid in the summer in New York. I'm experiencing traumatic events from my past. You ever go into the subway system in New York when there's an inversion, where all the BO and smells is captured and it's unbelievable. It's it's an event you would love to miss. Yeah. So it's sort of hot today and humid. So I want to get out of that. Yeah. But I never want to get out of what I'm not in. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, that's true sight. True sight isn't you can see super far. True sight is you see right now. Yeah. Like, am I in something or am I not in something? If I'm trying to get out of something I'm not in, that's a boo-boo in a sense, yeah? Because we are giving reality to things, and when we try to get out of something we'll do almost anything to get out of it, we've given it the reality of being in it. It's a big in, eh? You didn't know that, did you? You don't that you ever got introduced to the Course in Miracles, you and I give everything all the meaning it has. What? Yeah. So when we're trying to get out of a lot of shit, we're giving that shit we're trying to get out of the meaning of being in it. Yeah. And what happens if you're actually not in it? So you're acting out, trying to get out of it all day is making up a reality called in. Yeah. When you see you're not in, you're not moved to get out. And it's very clear you're not in. Yeah, it is. It's not clear when you're busy getting out all day. It isn't. I've seen it in my own life, and I've seen it thousands of times with people. Yeah, yeah. So Zen would say, hey, you see blue as blue, red as red, green. Yes, simple. It's not like I saw an 8,000 mile away blue. No, it's like blue is blue right here. Red is red, green is green. Yeah. Simple recognition of the basis of stuff will bring a great clarity about other shit. Yeah. Yeah. So anyone, let's have a question or a share or whatever. Oh, someone here, Annette. Come on in, Annette.
Annette, I think you need to unmute yourself. Hast du unmute?
Can't hear you. Can't, you got to unmute. If anyone else, we'll go back to Annette if not.
Oops.
Can't hear you. Yeah. All right.
Annette, You are on mute. You need to unmute yourself.
See,
Did you ask her to unmute?
Unmute. Okay. I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, wow. Yeah, all it takes is hitting.
She unmuted herself. Don't you hear the language? The English language implies we have a lot to do with a lot of shit we have nothing to do with. Annette did not mute herself. The Zoom machine was muted, and then she hit a little button, and then the Zoom unmuted. Annette did not unmute, and she did not mute. But this is the language all day. Yes?
Yeah, ownership all day long. Ownership.
English language has a lot of ownership in it. Italian doesn't have as much. They don't go, I'm going to take what? I'm going to eat my food. It's just, I'm going to eat food. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to take my shower. No, I'm going to take a shower. It's not my, you know what I mean? And you see the English is very ownership oriented. Yeah. I
Too
bet
true.
you it came out from the original property owners, motherfuckers. Yeah.
All
They
the
wanted
rebels, you know.
to my, and it's not yours. We'll just transfer them all out. We'll give them an
The
ownership.
revolution, you know,
Yes.
to free America over here, free
It's
into
funny.
fucking hell.
It's funny. Yeah. So,
Oh,
Annette, you've muted yourself. It's another
Did I?
Zoom. It's a whole other guilt. It's a Zoom guilt. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I unmuted and then I muted somebody. Sorry.
Unlimited ways.
I'm gonna have to go to meetings and make amends. Oh, I'm sorry, I muted you. And I gotta tell you, I did it on purpose. I'm sorry. I know it makes me a bad person, but I did enjoy it for a second.
Hey, it's good for my spiritual resume, though, you know, making all these amends. I'm such a martyr.
And you're not, see? See?
Exactly. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's full of shit.
It says I'm a martyr and you don't agree with that. And I'm not. Yeah. I'm not gonna go along the martyr trail. I wouldn't advise it, yeah. It's there's perhaps an easier way, right? Martyrdom. That's a
I feel
tough
like
one.
it's insidious and slippery. It can, you know,
It can be, but something is much more powerful than it.
clear. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even be able to recognize it, I suppose, you know? Yeah.
Yes, something is
But
a
then
lot more.
that's sort of a form of, I feel like any sort of form of knowing and claiming is a form of martyrdom, you know, just like somehow I know better, you know, and yeah, I'm superior because of it, you know, and you know, all of the
Easy to
XYZs
unlock
I've been through.
It's easy to unlock the door. You just hear a simple understanding. And if it triggers a response from truth, you'll know it's true. Yes.
This is what's happening. It is, you know,
Great. Yes,
it's
great.
just all of that, you know, I'm very cynical. You know, this is, you know, my way of being humor, and it never lands even over here as a joke, you know, because maybe it's like, I don't know, something. I think I heard you say on one of these talks to somebody about the unleashing, you know, like, you know, all those whacks the self was taking. You know, I mean, there's like it's got to come out somehow, you know, energy wise. But
Well, you know what? This is the stuff you can bring to 6 and 7 in
yeah,
the
exactly.
yes.
Yes.
If you
Yes.
believe it's your cynicism and then you realize it's just cynicism, give
Yeah.
the cynicism over to this other power and have it do what it wants with it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. This is the recognition. We don't have our call to arms is just bringing shit to the recycle bin and putting it in, literally. And
That's it.
step 6 and 7 is the recycle bin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the
I
garbage
find,
bin is
yes.
willing to take a lot of recyclable things, but you're the one that has to put it in. And that's your
Yeah.
role. And that's 6 and 7. You put it into the recycling bin and then the power does it. Yeah. Yeah, but it's not gonna go through your garbage probably. It needs, we need to look at it and tell the truth, and then there you go, bring it to 6 and 7.
Yeah.
I found it works.
It's
Yeah,
I
a lot.
it's what's curious is that, you know, side alongside of like the being convinced, hearing, like I just am hearing it. I'm hearing all that you're saying in a way, like I've listened to something that I've listened to once before last night, and I was like, it was just all landing, you know?
Yeah.
And then that can be alongside, you know, at the same time, this sort of cynicism. I didn't even expect to say anything like this, and it's just, you know, my wise ass just wants to say something, you know, I suppose wants to
But
have
the
something to
delivery
say.
already happened, honey. The delivery already happened. What
Yeah.
you do with the box doesn't matter. The delivery happened. You said it right there. You
It's
sort
just
of
like
got it.
insecurity. That's what it's just insecurity. It just won't, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's so in fear. It's so in fear that, you know, it feels like what's kept it go, like it needs to keep guarding me. It's going to keep me safe. That's what its job has always been. It's like you know what I mean? It's like,
Well, that's what it's told you.
yeah, yeah, man. Self-reliant to the fucking core
It
over here.
hasn't,
No joke.
it hasn't been completely honest with you, and then
Oh, trust me, there's something that knows that and has known it. And I'm just,
yeah,
it is such a relief more than anything. It
yes.
is more that the scales are tipped. The 50% has gone to the other side. You know, it's
Oh,
greater
great,
than half and
great.
half. I mean,
Yeah,
it couldn't be landing like this otherwise, you know? Yeah.
yes,
It's just got, you know, it's
great.
got claw marks. Everything has got claw marks letting go of it, you know?
That's okay. Claw marks, if you put, they can lend a texture to the wall. You can put a little
Mm,
wash on it, and it'll bring out different colors.
mm, yeah.
Yeah. A
Cool.
claw mark produces effect that we used to try to get as house painters.
Uh-huh.
Because when you take a wall that seems to be a solid thing and you give it different indentations, when you put a wash of color on it, it seeps in and makes a different pattern, makes a beautiful, like Southwest pattern.
Yeah,
It
like
was much
stucco or
more
something.
difficult
Yeah.
if the wall was very
Uh,
flat. Yeah, but when it had, let's say, marks and scratches and shit, it would take, that would become, it would bring a unique color pattern out. Beautiful. So, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the claws, like, they'd have these things that would reproduce claw marks solely, and you'd have to pay a lot of money for that little, it wasn't a
Hmm.
brush, it was something else, and now you've done it all yourself. Just let the higher power paint the wall.
Yeah. Cool.
It was
Thank
very
you.
cool. I've done it many times. It was super cheap. All I needed was water, and I'd get black umber and another raw sienna, mix it up, get sponges, and you just put it on, and it would be
Mhm.
called a wash. And you could create like Southwest effects on a wall, terracotta look. And the more the wall was beat up, the better it looked.
Mm,
Yeah, so there you
more
go.
character. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're a beat up wall, and there you go.
Yeah, it's great.
Let the higher power paint it. Yes, yeah. Wasn't
Mhm.
that the point, to be a maximum use?
That's what they say. So here you go. Here's your invitation. I mean, stop talking.
Oh, so you got yeah. So I'm telling you, really, it was a bitch to try to do a perfect wall, but when you had a ripped up, you needed different levels which would soak in the colors and produce contrast. You can't do
Mm,
that on a flat surface. That's just the same. But a beat
yeah.
up, not a whole lot more. So here you go. We're all beat up to be of maximum use to other people and other things.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at, let's say you were fucked over by an action figure, and then you have a dog, and I bet you're taking good care of that dog because you know what it's
Mm,
like to be fucked over,
true.
especially if they're in a powerless situation where the dog depends on me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dog
Yeah.
can't throw the ball, so it just brings the ball, you know, every time I'm in my house, I hear this clunk, and it's the dog with a ball trying to get my attention to take it out. And
Mm.
I've heard it, so I do my best twice a day when I'm home. Yeah, just
Yeah.
rain, I don't care, because I know the dog has a huge pleasure with it. What the fuck? Why
Mm.
wouldn't I want to do that for something? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So all this stuff is, you know, if we age like wine, we may have a cask that, or a cake that gets shook up a lot. That's how it's going to age better. Yeah. So
Mm.
I feel like we're all being put to use. I do. I think, and I believe you can see through those eyes that see value in everything. I do,
Mhm.
because I didn't, but I do a whole lot now. Yeah, I see value, you know, wait, let's not rush to judgment. This could be, and then you see that was seemingly necessary for something else to happen, like at the end of the week. Yeah. Now, when it happened in the beginning of the week, you felt, fuck, that sucks.
Yeah.
But then the end of the week it explained why it had to happen for this
Yeah.
new package to get delivered. Yeah, after a lot of those examples, you realized I don't want to have a higher power of my own understanding. I want to have a higher power of its own understanding, and let it tell me how it sees, instead of me telling it how I think it sees. Yeah. Really. And that changed a long time ago. It's never changed since. Some of
It's
the
like
change,
all I ever wanted for, like, this is the faith, how I always wanted to let my energy move, but it was just, like I said, that lack of trust, that guardedness all the time. Like I couldn't really just really, like I honestly, I'm gonna be straight. Like I've envied, I'm more the Al-Anon, you know what I mean? And all of the other isms that I'm also caught up on self about. Not currently, but I'm saying that's been my journey to here.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so I've been with alcoholics, and if anything, it's just like I'm fucking envious that like I wish I could just not give a fuck, like not saying that you have control or something, that it's a choice, but it just like envious. Of course, you're always going to be envious, and everything seems greener on the other side, right? But that was always my shtick, is that like that's the level of whatever, the fear, that the insecurity, that it's just like I wish I could just fucking just let myself go and just whatever, do whatever, and just let myself be moved like that way. Like I'm so don't, like nothing, I wouldn't let shit move me. Apparently, that's what I thought was happening. I'm gonna move
well,
me and I'll move you.
again, there's more pages coming after this page. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And if you have a lot of knowledge about what you're not, uh, if you're in the program, take it to 6 and 7.
Yeah, that's where
Sending
it's
that
gotta
knowledge
go.
over.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, the knowledge doesn't do much for us. Yeah. So
It
turn
just
it on.
feels good to have this community now where it can be let go with. And
Great.
from my experience, it felt very unsafe. Like even just giving a fifth step is just like that level of honesty. Just it's hard to give it, share it like that level, without feeling like now I'm on the outside, somehow. I'm not making excuses, but that's been my excuse, So
I feel like you moved on from there. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I'm feeling it. Thank you,
Yeah. Thank you.
appreciate it so much.
Anyone else there? Miss Volkman.
Yes. Anyone else?
Very, very good job. Thank you.
Yes.
No, then we'll start saying goodbye. Yeah. Hey, thank you, everyone shows up. Really appreciate it. I hope, you know, there's a tradition I feel captures what I feel about this, which is this loving God or loving power that expresses itself through our group conscience when we get together. And that's what feeds us. Yeah. It feeds us. I don't usually after the Zooms, I usually have a nice, strong sense of contentment and satisfaction. Yeah, it's quite nice. So, all right, let me say goodbye. I see Axel. I'll be seeing Axel soon here, I think. Yeah. Kathleen, as always. Miss Folkman, stepping up. Ah, very nice. Rick Rowe in Toronto. Mel in the UK. Or Mel UK IND. Mickey Smith, yes, your official greeter. Ad infinitum. Yes. Rico Cruz, nice to see you, Rico. Mitch, nice to see you, bro. Thanks for attending. And JC, nice to see you, bro. We got JJ. Joseph in France, not Paris, but in France. Annette, she's in a car, hopefully not driving. Yeah, that's good. Oliver, Berlin. Leah, I have no idea where Leah is now, geographically.
I'm in Florida.
You're in Florida, wow.
Yeah.
All's well, Leah?
All's well, Paul. Thank you. Traveling light.
Oh, great. We got Ryan. Ryan got a suit and tie. That's going to be our new dress code. Yeah, and when I get back, we're going to have, everyone has to wear suit and ties and shit. Italian. The ladies, no, the ladies, we'll figure that out. Amelia, I'll have to bring her in as consul. Gil, I think it's Gil, that one I know down in the desert. Jason, Lindy, there she is, Ben, Christine, and Kona. We got a phone number. Hey, thanks everyone. I don't know if I get this other page. Such a pleasure. Thanks for all the support, and right back at you. I totally support you entertaining this message. Yeah. I can give you the best support, which is certainty. Truly. All right. Adios. See you. Bye-bye.